Minnesota's solar industry is a hot one. Numbers released this month show the number of solar jobs in Minnesota have more than doubled since 2015. People came together in Brooklyn Park this week to learn about a career in the solar industry. Minnesota's solar jobs increased by 8% last year. Minnesota ranks 15th in the nation for total solar jobs. Experts say it's cheaper to do a solar project now than it used to be.
Well, a big factor is, they want to be able to pay for it, and the costs have been declining very rapidly in the last decade, about 30 to 50%. Also, some people are concerned about climate change, and so want to clean up their carbon footprints.
The forum also addressed how residents can prepare to get jobs in the solar industry. The Hindu Temple of Minnesota will be joining in the movement to go solar. The Maple Grove City Council approved a conditional use permit for the temple to build a solar array on its property. Arrays are typically an allowed use, but this had to be passed through the City Council because the array will be in a floodplain. The Hindu Temple says this could eventually help it meet all of its energy needs. Midwest Animal Rescue is known for helping homeless pets around Brooklyn Park, but recently they helped 4 pups from overseas. The 4 new additions were saved from a South Korea meat farm that the Humane Society International shut down. This is the 14th farm the international organization has shut down in South Korea, saving more than 200 dogs. The 4 that the Brooklyn Park group is helping had nowhere else to go.
Dogs are pets. They're not meant to be food. So when the Humane Society reached out to us, when our mission fell right alongside them, we knew we had to help.
The 4 dogs are available for adoption, and if you're interested in taking one of them home, visit our website, ccxmedia.org. It's Black History Month, and this month we're featuring trailblazers on local city councils. Today we feature Brendan Banks from Crystal. As he told reporter Sonia Goins, Black history is every day.
And to discharge faithfully.
Brendan Banks was sworn in January 2nd.
All members in favor, please say aye.
Aye. He's the first African American elected to the Crystal City Council.
It's slightly intimidating. Why am I the first? It's 2018.
Banks says it's important for government to mirror the community.
And you look at the diversity of Crystal, but how that hasn't been reflected as far as the city council.
Looking for a second, Brendan? Thank you.
He's laying the groundwork to make Crystal more inclusive and change the reputation that the city sometimes isn't.
As I've connected with people outside of Crystal, and they ask that question like, wow, how'd you get elected in Crystal?
Banks says that perception isn't reality.
When you look at the diversity of Crystal, both in race and age group, the family makeup and the dynamics, and so how do we start telling our story better?
The council member and his wife Jaleesa have 5 children. Family is one of the reasons he decided to run for office.
I don't want my kids to think that there's any kind of barriers, for them, whether that be work related, socially.
Serving the community is in his DNA.
That's something that my mom embedded into me at a very, very early age.
He was a volunteer firefighter in college and a police officer in Arlington, Texas for 6 years.
The department that I was at is incredibly diverse.
He now serves in a different capacity.
These are church-based ministries, so marriage builders, single parents.
As chief of staff for Serenity Village Community Church.
So as you can see, we have volunteers coming in. This is typically where the produce and stuff is.
Every Friday night, the church has a food shelf.
It's open to anybody that wants to come. We don't even ask any questions.
You can hear the passion in his voice for helping others.
Not about being better than anybody, but okay, here, let me love you through no matter what you may be going through.
He uses that same positive energy to uplift, allowing him to deal with racism and old hurts of the past.
Even as a black male, as a former police officer, I have experienced certain interactions with law enforcement that I wish not to speak of. Our youth meet in here.
Connecting with people of different backgrounds and sometimes having uncomfortable conversations.
We start talking about what is white privilege. A lot of people get very defensive.
Building bridges instead of barriers is a future Banks wants for Crystal.
There's still more work to be done, and that's okay. That's part of the evolution of cultural existence, our American society, and where we're going. I believe we're still going in the right direction.
In Crystal, Sonia Goins, CCX News.
For 15 years, one Brooklyn Center couple have fed the ducks that congregate by the hundreds near their Palmer Lake neighborhood. Tom and Sue Arnson buy cracked corn in 50-pound bags that they distribute daily. Photojournalist Dustin Scholl shows us it's creating a feeding frenzy that's growing larger every year.
They know I'm coming. They're not afraid at all.
Once we started doing it, then we decided we better keep it up.
Every year so far, feed more.
Like the duck whisperer?
My wife says there's thousands, but there's several hundred here.
I just feel sorry for them. I just help them winter time because they're hungry. So summertime they can fly somewhere by themselves. Look at that, they drop down so beautiful.
Wednesday's heavy snow forced the Maple Grove and Osseo boys and girls basketball teams to wait one more day before they could hit the court for a doubleheader. Osseo boys looking for a season sweep of the Crimson. Maple Grove's Jared Rainey splits the defense, goes in and scores an acrobatic layup. It's a 10-7 Crimson lead. Eli Barlow penetrates and finds Deontay Ferguson under the hoop as Osseo plays well in the first half. On the inbounds play, Terrence Waite spots Tariq Henry. Good position inside, he scores. Osseo leads 29-21 at halftime. But it's mostly Crimson in the second half. Nate Adams gets the steal and takes it in for the layup. Maple Grove's ahead 32-31. And Rainey penetrates and finds Kyle Dreyer in a well-timed cut for the layup. Dreyer scores 10 points in the game. They'll kick it out to Adams for a long three, and it's good. He nets 15 points in the game. And Maple Grove leads Osseo by 9. Rainey scores 19 points. Maple Grove dominates the second half on the way to a 60-44 win for a split of the season series with Osseo. The Crimson girls also won Thursday, beating the Orioles 70-47. Though things didn't go the way for Maple Grove's girls hockey team in the state AA quarterfinals, senior Lucy Morgan backstopped the Crimson to the Section 5 AA title and is a finalist for Senior Goalie of the Year. Jason Melillo profiled Morgan on this week's Sports Jam show.
Coming into the 2017-18 high school hockey season, Maple Grove was looking for a new starting goalie.
When Coco and Bree left, those were going to be some big shoes to fill, and we felt at that time that both of our young goaltenders would have battled and would have been able to hold us in some games and continue to grow and develop. But then Lucy coming into Maple Grove allowed us to have just somebody who was going to be solid day in and day out and again give us an opportunity to win.
Lucy Morgan moved to Maple Grove in the summer of 2017. She grew up in Mandan, North Dakota and had a passion for hockey from a young age. Morgan split her time between goalie and forward, but eventually became a full-time netminder.
My team wasn't as good as other teams or not as competitive, so we would either lose 6-0 or when I was in net it would be a closer game, and I just like to compete and I like to be out there all the time. When I was a player and I was sitting on the bench, it just was frustrating when you get scored on.
Youth hockey in North Dakota isn't on the same level as Minnesota, and Morgan often played in boys' leagues to challenge herself.
That's how I feel like how I was able to come into this program and play. If I didn't play with the boys in North Dakota, I don't think I would be the goalie at Maple Grove right now.
Facing arguably the best high school players in the country here in Minnesota has made Morgan better, and college hockey programs are showing interest.
I've been talking to some D1 schools, yeah, I feel like since I moved here, that's kind of like helped me recruiting wise, but it's not as good as the people that were born and raised here. They got recruited a lot sooner than I did, which is fine. Like, it doesn't really matter to me.
College hockey is probably in Lucy Morgan's future. For now, though, she's grateful to be between the pipes for the Crimson and honored to be a finalist for Goalie of the Year.
I remember back when I was in middle school or back in North Dakota, I just remember getting those newspapers, those Minnesota newspapers that would be at the hockey store, and I'd read them, and I would just look at the finalist, and I was like, oh, I thought that never could be me, but now it's actually me, and I'm like super grateful for that opportunity.
We'll have more on the state girls hockey tournament, plus section boys hockey play, state gymnastics, and section wrestling and boys swimming on Sports Jam starting Monday. It airs at 3:30, 6:30, and 9:30 p.m. on CCX1. CCX News continues in a moment.